In February 1940, 56 British merchant ships are sunk by U-boats, but 3 U-boats are also sunk. On the 5th of February, the British finally reject the French plan to send an expeditionary force to northern Finland, the port of Petsamo, to fight against the Russians, but did agree to consider sending troops to Narvik in Norway, but only if Norway and Sweden agreed, and then they could cross into Finland through Norway and Sweden. Both Norway and Sweden refuse. To the British horror, however, the French decide that they're going to send their troops anyway. On the 16th of February, the British and French sign a trade agreement, but still have taken no military action against Germany. On the 18th of February, there's a joint British and French plan finally finalised. 3 British companies are sent to the Alps to learn to ski. They have a marvellous time, apparently, in preparation to land in northern Norway with a French Alpine brigade to seize the Swedish mines and help Finland, while 4 French divisions and 100,000 British troops with 1,000 vehicles would land in southern Norway to help Sweden if Germany invaded. Although it's clear that Norway and Sweden don't want British and French help, and this would in fact be an invasion. On the 1st of March, the British reimpose the blockades on German coal exports to Italy and seize 13 coal ships bound for the Italians. Germany is reduced, however, with their own desperate shortages, reduced to begging Italy for 3,500 tons of copper to make ammunition. Mussolini seizes people's copper pans and raids churches to find it. German imports have now fallen by 80% to below its lowest point during the 1929 Great Depression, when half of German industry had ground to a halt due to lack of resources. And most of what they are getting is coming from the USSR. But thanks to the work of Todt and the Soviet raw materials, the German production of ammunition has finally risen high enough to allow for an offensive. Without this Italian copper and Russian resources, the Germans would probably have had to have surrendered in the winter of 39. They just simply didn't have the resources to make ammunition without these 2 sources of supplies. But it's only been achieved by great hardship at home and by cutting production elsewhere. Germany has enough ammunition for one gamble, one offensive, to win the war in the summer of 1940, or to accept that they have lost. And so they are going to gamble everything in the summer of 1940. On the 13th of March, Finland signs an armistice with the USSR. Britain and France, for all the conversations, had done nothing to help the Finns. Public opinion forces Chamberlain to reshuffle his cabinet. Daladier's French government, however, is in real trouble. On the 18th of March, Mussolini promises Germany that Italy will enter the war at the appropriate moment. At more or less the same time, the French suggest attacking Italy, with 30 French divisions taken from the Maginot Line and 10 French and British divisions taken from the Middle East, to smash Italy and to give the French army some combat experience and help raise what is plummeting French morale. The winter had been really cold. I mean, the snows are higher in some places than the trains. And for the men who had dug into trenches with no fighting, no German troops in sight, just the cold, the wet, kept away from their families, it has led to a collapse in French morale. And this, they think, will this new enemy beat the Italians and it will lift their morale. It would also show the Germans that they meant business. Well, of course, attacking the Germans would also show that the French meant business. Gamelin, however, puts a stop to the plans, still takes no action against the Germans. On the 20th of March, public opinion in France, disgusted by the failure to help the Finns, leads to a fall of Daladier's government. He's replaced by Renard, who was approved by just 1 vote. He got on well personally with Churchill, however, and was an Anglophile and spoke English. So surely a great thing. But Chamberlain hates him. Now, possibly because he gets on so well with Churchill. Now, he's desperate. Renard is desperate to show that he's going to do something. So he proposes bombing the USSR's Caucasian oil fields at Maykop, Grozny and Baku to stop the oil being sent from the USSR to Germany. So we're not going to attack Germany, but we're going to attack Russia that we're still at peace with, remember. Chamberlain hits the roof when he hears this plan, knowing that it of course means war with the Russians as well as the Germans. Instead, Britain suggests a plan put forward by Churchill. Now, he says Churchill proposes mining the River Rhine, put sea mines to float down the River Rhine to mine the German river, because he knows that the River Rhine is a major arterial route for German industry. German industry depends on ships going up and down the River Rhine, and so Churchill is going to just simply mine it. He says that it starts off in France, chuck a load of sea mines in, and it'll just naturally flow through the sea. Keep on, and it'll cripple German industry. But the French are horrified, saying that if they do that, then the Germans might bomb France in retaliation. And the French are keen to keep the war away from France, which is why they proposed to fight in the Balkans, to fight in Norway, to fight in Finland, anywhere but near France. On the 28th of March, Reynaud attended his first Supreme War Council. The British veto the plan to bomb the USSR, but does say it will mine the sea routes off of Norway if they can also mine the River Rhine. Reynaud, however, faces a cabinet rebellion in France at the idea of mining the Rhine. On the 30th of March, the French Admiral Darlan warns Gamelin that swift action in Norway might be required. Now, it's a good warning. Hitler is terrified that the British and French would seize the Swedish iron ore. He knows how important it is to German industry, and so he plans an invasion of Denmark and Norway. The entire U-boat force of 31 boats is recalled and then redirected to Norwegian waters. And so in April 1940, Reynaud suggests that the British and French fleets force the Dardanelles in Turkey, sail into the Black Sea to attack Soviet shipping sailing oil to Romania, and from Romania it's going to Germany. The French also refuse to consider mining the River Rhine in case Germany bombs France back. On the 4th of April, Chamberlain says on the BBC that Hitler has missed the boat, that he's missed his chance of victory. The British start to prepare to lay mines in Norwegian waters, given up on the Rhine idea. The British also begin to prepare to land troops at Narvik, just in case, in what they call Plan R4. It had taken 7 months of arguing to agree to lay some mines in Norwegian waters. And it was going to happen just as summer began, when the Baltic would be open up for sail again. The time to do it was in the winter, because the point of mining Norwegian waters is the Germans use Norwegian waters in the winter. And as spring arrives, we finally agree to start to laying mines in Norwegian waters. Far, far too late. On the 7th of April, an RAF reconnaissance plane spots a German naval invasion force heading for Norway. 30 British bombers attack it, but miss their targets. The Royal Navy put to sea. Now, British troops had already been loaded onto 4 British cruisers at Rosyth. Churchill gives the order for the troops to disembark to allow these cruisers to rush out and hunt the German ships. It's a fatal mistake. On the 8th of April, the British destroyer Glowworm spots the German heavy cruiser Hipper and 4 German destroyers. The Glowworm is heavily outgunned. There's no way that the Glowworm can actually harm the Hipper, and the Germans expect it to run. If you're looking at the PowerPoint, you'll be able to see a picture of the Glowworm seen from the Hipper. If not, look on the internet and find it. The Glowworm knew it couldn't harm the Hipper, but it was damned if it was going to run from a German invasion force. And so the Glowworm charged at the Hipper and rammed it. The Glowworm was destroyed and all the men drowned, but it did horrible damage to the German heavy cruiser Hipper, tearing off large amounts of the armour plate and sheeting. An incredibly brave moment. Look at the picture and know that you're looking there at some men who are going to their deaths rather than running from a German heavy cruiser. The British battle cruiser Renown is ordered to stop German troops landing at Narvik. Reynaud also asks Gamelin to prepare troops to go to Norway.